Hey everyone, it's Helen from SMB Deal Hunter. Today we're going to talk with Andy here from the New York metro area about a deal he closed recently through the SMB Deal Hunter Pro program. It took about 4 months from when Andy started working with inside the program to close, and it's been about 5 months since he's taken over the business. So today we're going to touch on what Andy was doing before he bought this business, some of the challenges he faced during his search, the deal he ultimately closed on, the business he's operating now, and how post-close acquisition life has been. So let's jump in. Andy, thank you so much for joining me today. First question I have is, what do you have behind you? You have so many plaques or whatever that is.
Yeah, they're all thank you notes from all the customers throughout the years. So the business has been around for 34, almost 35 years. Um, and these are all, before emails was the thing. It was all handwritten letters or typed up letters that were mailed into the location. So
That is amazing. I love that. I
yeah.
want to start doing that. That's such a good idea. That's super smart. Well, look, let's talk about sort of your background first. What were you doing before jumping into buying business? Kind of what were you up to before?
Sure. And thanks, Helen, for having me on. Yeah, before buying the business, I was in tech. So I was a project manager for 14 plus years for a big consulting company, but then also for smaller agencies. So kind of got to see both sides, large enterprise integrations and kind of smaller startup kind of, software development. So.
And what prompted you to get into ownership yourself and buying a business?
It all started with, I guess, two things. One was I didn't feel like I was learning much anymore as a project manager. It's kind of the same kind of routine, although the projects differed, um, kind of the same tasks, and didn't feel like I was growing there. And then a friend of mine actually gifted me the Harvard Business Review book. I
Classic.
ended up picking that up, and then yeah, kind of planted the seed.
That's awesome. And tell us about, how long you've been sort of on this hunt, how long you've been searching on your own before you kind of joined us. Maybe share a little bit how much progress you made on your own. Love to hear more.
Yeah, so I think before joining the pro program, I was probably searching for a couple of months already. It's part of I don't know if it was kind of the SMB Deal Hunter kind of before the pro group.
Yeah, we
Um,
we we used to have like a community. I know you
yeah,
were in it, that before we shifted everyone towards the pro program.
yeah,
So I know you were searching on your own and still sort of part of that. But I'd love to hear, what kind of progress you had made on your own there.
yeah. I think it helped a lot. So I did not know anything about search, even though I read the book. Everything was still brand new to me. So like Sims and kind of talking to sellers. What questions do I ask? Like first call with the seller. Super nervous. What do I do? What questions do I ask? Good thing, SMB Deal Hunter had the kind of the checklist there to help me out a lot. Um, so yeah, had a couple of calls, kind of did searches. Um, Actually went under LOI a couple times. Um, but then ultimately the deals fell through. And I felt like, okay, I need to really, really kind of set it straight, be more serious about this, join the pro program, get some more hands-on help from the team members, and like Bill and folks kind of helping out. So
What did you feel like was missing from, searching primarily on your own? And, maybe why did the deals kind of fall apart? And where did you feel like you kind of needed more support? I'm curious.
um, probably just asking questions that popped up, whether that be in due diligence or conversations with the seller. When a question came up, I didn't know the answer and I don't know how to get the answer. So kind of having the team members there to help specific questions, and they were super quick in their responses, either kind of sharing a Slack kind of recording message, getting into the nitty gritty and the nuances there. That definitely helped a lot to kind of push me past the LOI phase and kind of go deep into QOE and kind of legal diligence.
It's interesting. And no, that's super, super helpful insight. And tell us about some of the deals you actually looked at prior to, ultimately closing on this one. What were some of the deals you actually got under LOI?
Yeah.
When
Trying to try to think. I wanted something physical, like a physical product. So first couple of deals were actually like a seafood manufacturer company. So manufacturing again, kind of physical product. Also went under LOI for a custom wine cellars kind of business. So they designed and manufactured wine cellars for high-end clients and resorts, stuff like that. But ultimately, those fell through. And then now purchased American Shed Builders. So it's a manufacturing business for sheds, residential sheds, commercial sheds. Again, a physical product. That's ultimately what I wanted. So.
And what were some of the reasons? And before you even dive into the current business, what were some of the reasons the LOIs fell through?
Yeah, I think two of them were during the QOE, realized some of the numbers just didn't add up. And when we kind of try to retrace with the seller, it didn't work out. And the second one was more of the importance of the seller at that time. This was for the wine cellar company. Yeah, just realized how much, everything revolved around the seller, and that I wouldn't be able to kind of take that over. Um, Ultimately, that kind of just felt like was uncomfortable, red flags, didn't want to move forward with it.
Yeah, no, it's not easy. I feel like once you're under LOI, it's very hard to pull out, when you get emotionally invested. But
Yeah.
no, that's great that you still are able to, because that's definitely tough. I know that's tough.
Yeah.
I guess two questions or one question before we're kind of diving into, what it's been like since. Looking back, anything that you can name that were sort of, most valuable things you got out of joining our program and working together?
I think it's just the community. I know you, Helen, and kind of the other team members help a lot with any of the questions that I had, super responsive, but also just community members, other pro members kind of jumping in and helping out when needed. So whether that be a question about, SBA lending or what kind of financing they were able to get. Um, Folks that were also in the area, kind of just providing a year or sounding board whenever I had questions. Yeah, just kind of that in general, plus the team members that kind of helped out. So
That makes sense. You'll have to come to the next happy hour we're hosting in the
yeah,
city. It's coming
Saturn is
up.
the first one.
Yeah, no, I think we're doing one in December, so I'm gonna announce it soon.
Okay.
So hope to see you there in person. But anyway, let's dive into the actual business. I want to hear more about, what drew you to the deal. You mentioned, it's a shed manufacturer, but did you have experience, in that industry? What was attractive about the deal?
No, zero industry experience. So I was in tech before. One of the reasons I wanted something physical or physical product was because in tech, sometimes you don't see the end product, right? You can be doing a development for a project for months on end, sometimes years. And at the end of the day, yes, sometimes it goes live, sometimes the deal dies, and then all that work is just you don't see the end result. So what I wanted was something physical, an end product that customer would be happy to see, something tangible at the end. So that's the reason I chose physical manufacturing business. Um, in terms of this particular business, the things that drew me to it were like you see all the thank you letters in the back, just the reputation the business has. 34 years, a lot of experience, and kind of goodwill with the community, surrounding areas. I also grew up in New Jersey, so the location is in Old Bridge, New Jersey. So I grew up like 2 towns north of here, so know the
Crazy.
area pretty well. It just seemed like, okay, maybe that's a sign as well. Um,
No, that's interesting. And can you share some of the high level deal terms you landed on and how you kind of negotiated the transition with the seller?
Sure. Yeah. So, deal terms, the overall price of the business, I think, was just over $1 million. Um, Typical kind of structure for the purchase. It was kind of 10% down. There actually was no seller's note though, and the remaining portion was SBA funded. In terms of the seller, usually seller note kind of keeps the seller kind of invested, right? Some skin in the game to kind of help with the transition. In this case, the seller is also the owner of the particular property. in order to kind of maintain the rent and kind of continue to get the rent. They needed me to be successful. So that was one kind of factor there, in making sure that the transition was successful. And honestly, the last couple of months have been great. The transition period actually just ended. So a couple months in, still learning, still a lot to ask, but the seller is still, in touch in terms of calling, texting, still around. So anything there is, still accessible.
Well, that's great that you've been able to maintain a good relationship with the seller. I feel like that's a very underrated
It's
point
been
that
absolutely clutch. Yeah, just so many things that because I don't have experience in the industry, nuances with suppliers, relationships that, he's grown throughout the years. Just having that um, experience, being able to ask him any kind of question, it's been super, super helpful.
and what does the team look like that you kind of inherited?
Yeah, so we have a team of, I think, 6 folks right now. Yeah, 6 folks. Um, so we have folks that work in the shop that kind of manufacture all the parts. So our specialty is that we um, build on site. So all the sheds we build essentially in one day. We manufacture all the parts, load them into our trucks. Day of, we drive to the client's site, their house, and just build a shed in one day. So we have a couple of folks in the shop that kind of prepare all the materials, we call them packages, making sure they're all custom made, all ready to go. And then we have a team of 3 installers that actually go out and install the sheds day to day.
Well, that's super interesting. And what do you guys what do you continue to kind of like about the deal post close? Obviously there was a lot of stuff that you probably saw during diligence that you liked. So now that you're actually operating the business, what are your sort of favorite things about it?
I think seeing like a really happy customer, seeing the shed built and then getting the email or a review, just like, hey, this is awesome, exactly what we wanted. And then also the team members here, everybody's been great. Um, that was one thing I was worried about was kind of the continuity of the team because I didn't have experience. I need to lean on their experience. And so far, everybody's been amazing. Whether it be the lead builder or the seller or the folks in the shop. Everybody's been super hands-on, asking questions, and kind of just taking it in stride, kind of like new owner because the old owner has been here for so long, they're so used to him, but still kind of welcoming me in as a new owner. It's been great, and yeah, just seeing the team kind of continue and maintain that high quality.
Well, that's great that you didn't get a lot of resistance. I feel like that can sometimes be a challenge too with the staff.
Yeah, that's one thing that scared me. And of course, that kind of dreaded J curve that everybody talked about.
I was gonna actually ask you next, how's the business been performing compared to pre-close?
Exactly as we kind of expected in terms of due diligence. So I want to knock on wood right here. So far, so good. Um, yeah, the numbers have basically matched what was the case during due diligence. Of course, I'm still kind of anticipating the hibernation period that's coming up soon. Come December, January, February, business slows down significantly. And that's one thing I need to kind of be wary of and kind of make sure I have enough working capital. Now that there's additional overhead with the SBA loan, with the rent for the lease for the property, things of that sort, just to make sure we can kind of carry over through until the high season again in spring.
What are you, I guess, now that you've been kind of running the business for a little, do you see some opportunities for growth or efficiency or that you're excited about?
Yeah, so you'll see like again the paper notes and thank you letters. Everything here was paper. So the triplicate paper that you write back in the day in the doctor's office, whatever. That's what was used for order forms. Actually, still is used. Slowly transitioning to a new system, but yeah, all orders are all paper. So definitely some improvements and opportunities there. Also, just no advertising was done. So they dabbled in Google Ads a little bit last year, but that's it in terms of advertising. That was another avenue, another opportunity there to kind of take advantage of, to kind of increase advertising and potentially get more customers that way.
What do you think? I know it's only been sort of 5 months since you've taken over, and it sounds like you already are slowly transitioning the infrastructure. away from pen and paper, but when are you thinking of starting to really grow the business through advertising, like you just spoke about? Is that sort of next year? What does that look like?
So I already turned it on a little bit because I don't have that much experience with Google Ads or kind of advertising in general. So turn on the spigot a little bit just to kind of get some experience, dip my toes in, understand what it's like. But again, the season's kind of winding down a little bit, so probably gonna turn it off. And then in kind of really, really kind of kick it up probably around the springtime. So depending on the weather, if it's warm enough to kind of do some builds, usually March is when we start picking it back up again. So hopefully getting everything ready, maybe a new website refresh, getting the system in order, so that kind of fully transition from pen and paper to the online system that we have, and start picking up the advertising probably end of February, beginning of March to kind of get some headway into the spring season.
And was your plan when thinking of buying this business to to run it and grow it, or did you eventually want to be more hands off or bring maybe like a GM on? How have you sort of thought about it?
Yeah. So expectation wise, I know for the first year or two, it's going to be extremely hands-on because I just need to learn the business, get familiar with my team,
Sure.
get familiar with the product. So that's totally expected, and that's kind of the expectation. Just be super, super hands-on. And then once I learn the business, um, hopefully we can grow it, even as it is right now at a maintained level. I'd be okay with that. I think with the efficiencies that come and the advertising and things of that sort, that there should be some opportunities for some growth. And at that time, then maybe um, you know get a GM in place or promote someone from within to become GM, and then could be a little more hands off and kind of grow the business from working on the business instead of kind of working in the business.
Yeah, I'm curious in terms of working in the business. And what does your day to day look like right now? You do have a couple team members. So what are you really focused on?
Yeah. For the first month, it was learning how packages are made in the shop, actually going on customer sites and kind of building and kind of seeing how the packages were put together. So swinging the hammer, cutting the
Love it.
saw, stuff like that, jumping on top of a roof, shingling the roof. That was awesome. Still want to get more experience in that department, but yeah, right now it's more of sales, um, hiring, um, learning kind of the shop. So just kind of overall administrative duties. So the team is pretty lean. So wear a lot of hats, whether that be sales, HR, accounting, stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of the day right now.
And how does it? I don't know if you've had a moment to take a step back, but how does it feel finally? Being a business owner. Was this what you kind of expected maybe a year ago, or
I
I want
haven't
to hear
had the
more.
chance to step back. That's the thing. It's been nonstop, which has been good, right? Because that means business is pretty consistent. Maybe come December and January when things slow down, then I'll be able to kind of take a breath and then kind of just reevaluate. But yeah, it's kind of surreal now that I've been searching for, I think I was searching for about a year, right? First with SMB Deal Hunters as kind of that initial group, and then being a pro member, and now finally being a business owner. It's still kind of surreal.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Did
On the
you
other
did
side of it.
you did you quit your job sort of right before you closed, or
Yeah, right before I close. That's right. I try to time it so that in case anything happened and in it right before the finish line, because I've heard some stories, right, through community members or things of that sort, where it's like, oh, even like up to a week before closing, stuff still can happen.
yeah,
Um,
totally.
so yeah, try to time it where I gave ample notice to the previous company, and kind of timed it with the closing date. And luckily, everything went smoothly in terms of kind of the SBA financing, closing date, lawyers kind of checked the boxes, everything was good to go. So yeah, we actually closed on the targeted closing date.
That's crazy, and I feel like that never happens. Which is, I mean, like I feel like this is the first conversation I've had in a while where you closed on the target close date. Nothing was extended. That's
Yeah, lucky.
awesome. I guess What are you anything else that we haven't spoken about that you're just excited for, now that you're kind of on the other side?
Yeah, I think it's just seeing the opportunities that I saw during due diligence and kind of implementing them. Right now, it's still kind of still treading water, still kind of getting my head wrapped around, all the different tasks and responsibilities that I have. But when the season slows down, hopefully I'll be able to kind of take a step back, enjoy it a little bit, but then also kind of figure out what priorities I want to implement first, come spring. So that's probably number one.
And I guess final question for me, Andy. Um, any sort of final words of advice for someone watching this right now who was maybe, where you were a year ago, and kind of unsure about taking this leap? What do you kind of have to say to them?
Keep pushing. Like it's definitely super rewarding once you get to the other side and you close a deal. Um, and for me, it was multiple LOIs, like two, I believe two LOIs that kind of were pretty deep. Actually, out of pocket, I already spent some money for due diligence and QE and legal fees. And then they both fell through. So it was pretty discouraging, but kind of continued on. And ultimately, this, third time's the charm. It happened. So yeah, I think that's probably it. And then just lean into the community. Don't be afraid to, ask questions during those workshops, calls that we have, because maybe your situation has a certain nuance that other folks are also thinking about. Like, oh shoot, maybe certain financing. I'm just trying to think of like examples. When you ask a question, and then like, oh, actually somebody else had the same exact question, but they just, didn't voice it yet. I think
Sure.
getting the advice for your particular situation, because every single deal is so different. Getting that tailored advice from, whether it be you, Helen, or the team members, definitely helps a lot when you're trying to, also in a time crunch, trying to reply to seller, but getting kind of like playbook, play by play from the team is super helpful.
And just maybe a small follow-up, any tips for those who are sort of searching part-time like you were, when
Yeah.
with a job?
Um, have a partner that is super supportive because it was work until 5 or 6 and then flip the switch. Also I have a 2 year old, so kind of like watching for him after him until he goes to bed, and then kind of okay from I don't know from like 8 until like 11 o'clock. It's all like SMB, kind of diligence, doing the um, spreadsheets, figuring out what kind of questions I want to ask for the next meeting with the seller, stuff like that. So yeah, it's just a lot of time management and having a partner that's super supportive.
Oh, that's great advice. Well, Andy, I want to be cognizant of your time, so thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today and kind of sharing your story. I'm excited to keep following along. By the way, are you joining the roundtable we have coming up in a couple of days? I'm not sure if we
Oh, I registered for it to be a participant, kind of just listen in,
yeah.
listen to the other kind of new business owners and their advice. Um, but yeah, excited to hear.
Yeah, we'll have to get you in on the next one on the actual panel. It'd be great to have you and to share your learnings.